Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Beatrice. I'm the licensing manager for Scite, and today I will be presenting Scite to you. And before I do that, I will share my screen. Apologies. It is Friday, so I guess we all have a bit of an excuse. Up. Okay, so you should be seeing my screen now. If somebody can just put it in the chat that they are seeing my screen. So oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. I will be putting into a presentation mode. Here it is. So as I mentioned before, we like to give you a bit of background information on Scite, where Scite comes from and where we are heading towards. Scite was founded in 2018, and it's very important to understand why we are different from other tools. And I should have said this before I started the presentation. And that's also why we give you a bit of background information. So Scite started in 2018 since we started in 2018, what we did is that we were looking for publisher and data holders agreement. So that was our first main goal, to look for those. And by now we do have agreement with those publisher and those data holders. So we basically were the first one to seek those agreements with those publishers and data holders in 2018. 2018 doesn't seem like it's far away, but in that space, it actually is. We are quite veteran in that space. So every other platform that are starting to look for those agreements are doing it now, and it's less and less likely that they will get it because those publishers are having their own AI tools, so they're restricting the access to those agreements. So we have those agreements, so we are able to mine the full text and behind the paywall text, as well as open access, of course. So what it does is that you can see that we have quite a jump in our, oh, I'm sorry, you can't hear anything? So I do have, can anyone just tell me? Oh, okay. So it's okay. All right. I'm just making sure that I'm not like talking to myself. Thank you. I'm just going to carry on. I think Attila, if you cannot hear, you may want to jump out and jump in back into the meeting. Yes, thank you. So I'm just going to be carrying on. So this basically reflects into our user base. So we did start at 130,000 users in 2022, and we jumped to 1.4 million. To be noted is that most of those users are in the academic space. So you can see here on the screen our partners that we're working with around the globe. So we do have quite a lot from the US. So institution like Harvard Medical School is using Scite, but also Europeans ones, and also Asian and Australian. So it's a broad user base that we have. So we cover quite a lot of use cases as well. And to continue on the platform, so going back on the platform, what we did once we had those indexing agreements with the publisher partnerships, we were able to create an independent reference graph, which is now close to 2 billion references. So as I mentioned before, we're able to, of course, get the open access content, but also behind the paywall one to extract those citation statements. As everyone quickly understood, those citation statements are really a cornerstone to the Scite approach, and it basically tells you if a paper is good or not. So we're really circling around that science of reproducibility. So when we deal with the full text, the book chapters, the peer-reviewed articles, the preprints, very important to also understand that we don't only just cover a peer-reviewed article, it's much more than that, and I will show you in a second what that looks like on the platform. We identify in-text citations, in those full text, we extract the relevant text based on the licenses that we have, of course. And then what that allows us to do is that it takes several phrases before and after the reference, and that creates a rich context around a citation. Then what we do is we classify the citation. So we classify into three categories: the supporting, the mentioning, and the contrasted. The example here is a supporting one because it says in accordance with the previous report, and then the reference, and then the author continues explaining her point. So if we deconstruct a little bit, to us, it looks like if there was a research team who published an article, confirmed the results, and then it receives a supporting statement. So it's not just mentioned, but results have been supported. The second is mentioning, so it's neither supporting nor contrasted. Those are non-judgmental and are typically taken from the methodology, review sections, as well as introduction. So it's something that provides a rich context for a research topic in a specific field. So this category, the mentioning one, should not be overlooked. It's an important category. It really gives you an insight on what's being said into that particular subject as well. And then we have the contrasted one, and that's a very interesting one because you can find things like we fail to reproduce XYZ, or we arrive to the results which are different from XYZ. So it's a new way to look at the science. It's not about how many times your paper was referenced, but actually a measure of quality, whether it was supported, mentioned, or contrasted. I like to add a little bit on the technical side, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. But just so you know, we do have 11 machine learning models with 20 to 30 features each used to extract the citation statements. And then we have one deep learning model, which we also created to classify the statement as supporting, contrasted, and mentioned. And those were trained on 40,000 citation statements, and it was manually trained so that it was trained by real human beings. I'm going to continue with this one. This slide is very important because it really covers the scope of the data that we have. And that's very important because if you're using other tools out there, you need to be careful on where the data comes from. And that's a big question if you're using it for your research as well. You really want to make sure that the data covered is as broad as possible, but also a quality data as well. So we do have, as I mentioned before, publisher data holders agreements, so OpenAlex, Crossref, BMG, Carger, Wiley, etc. And then we also have author information like ORCID, which flow through ORCID. So we have a partnership through ORCID. If you have a ORCID profile, you can link it to Scite. So you will get your papers and you will get to see which papers you have been cited or if you have cited any as well. So it's quite a nice link to do if you have an ORCID profile. If you're also looking at institutional information, you can. If you're looking at university and their publishing output, you can do that through our dashboard. So we do have also all this information through our dashboard, enterprise information as well. And then we also have journals. So the journals, we do cover more than 100,000 journals. So you can see how well those are cited as well. So a little bit about our founders, and that's very important because I like to mention one of our co-founder who is very active into the academic space and into our space is Professor Sean Rife. He is a professor at Murray State University. It's very important because he is in open science. He is very active in the open science movement, and he also is very active into giving webinars for our users as well. We just did one yesterday, actually, with a Swiss-based research institute, so 4 institutes. And we did have a big webinar with them as well. So that's quite important to understand that we do also have masterclasses available. And then we have Josh Nicholson, who's a biologist by training, and he's more active on the corporate side as well. Now I'm going to jump into the platform. And so what I will be showing you is that the platform. So today I will be showing you a few use cases. Those use cases are generally used within academia. And why I show those particular use cases with those particular example, it's really to give you a broad understanding on site functionalities, and it's not because it's life science or physical science. We have a very broad coverage at Scite, and I will show you what subjects we cover. It's open information on the website, so you'll be able to also go see it yourself. And to start with, here, as you can see, I have an article on hand. And what's interesting here, well, it has been also written by Josh Nicholson, which is a biologist by training. So I like to use that one because it's close to home. And this one is very particularly interesting because you can see that here, those are the information that we're looking for, the data. It says 89 citations. If I do click on it, it's going to be very cumbersome in terms of looking at each of the citations. But here, what I can see and what's already very useful, without jumping into the platform just yet, you'll have the Scite plugin. If you don't have it, do install it. It's quite helpful. And it's also quite helpful if you don't have a subscription to Scite, because it gives you a citation statement summary. That's why it's important to also understand how we categorize and what it means. So here it says that this article has been cited 102 times, and then it breaks it down. So it breaks it down by 5 mentioning, 94 mentioned, and also 0 contrasted. If I do click on this, I will get rerouted to the platform, and that's where it gets interesting, because here you have all the information you had on the journal, of course, on the articles, but here you see that it's hyperlinked because, as I mentioned, we do have our relationship to ORCID, and so you have those author information, and then you can go in there and then you can start also like looking at those. Now, if you come in here and if you come down, what is interesting is that you have that citation statements listed here. The first one, for example, is a supporting one. It's a supporting one because it says in agreement with previous work, then it states Josh's work, Josh Nicholson, the author, and then you can go on with the related work. The related work, here, you can hover over that related work and you will see that you have a side badge as well. So it gives you more information on that related work without having to click on it and go just yet in that direction. So you have all information on hand. And here, 99 citation statements is still quite a lot of results. So what you can do is that you can use the filters. Filters are quite good. So you can filter by paper section, citation types, year published. This one is quite heavily used. You can do the 4 last years of what's being said about that particular paper, or subject, or author as well, or DOI, depending on what you're looking for. Publication types, again, we're not just covering peer-reviewed articles, it's much more than that. And then here we are going to have a free text. So you can really go in there and put like a search term, and then it mines through those citation statements as well. If you would disagree with this little our classification, and you tell yourself, well, I disagree, I think that's wrong, because we know that nothing is 100%, you can come in here and flag the classification. And that's what also we're trying to build, is a relationship to our users, because it's a two-way street as well. You as a researcher may have had information that you think are relevant to that particular article, and that's why you're saying that it has been misclassified. So you come in here, You say why, and then you put a comment, and then it's being reviewed by our team, which are real human beings and not just like some sort of like a fictional AI tool which treats the information. Um, Going back to this, now this is when you have an article on hand. I understand that it might not be every day's use case, but what's before I jump into the assistant, I really want to make a highlight to our advanced search. Advanced search is a very powerful tool. So basically, and I can type and talk apparently. Here it is. So basically, when here you're looking for something, you're looking for an author, a DOI, a particular search term, you come in here, you put that in, and you will see that you have a result. Classic for a search, you will say. But from here, you can do many things with Scite. What you can start doing is that if you wanted to really go deep into that particular subject, you can do an advanced search. Advanced search is a Boolean search. We're quite the only ones doing this. So you can basically put an or a not. We've been testing it. I think it's up to 400 terms. So brace yourself. You'll have enough room to put enough terms into the query. So you can go as granular as you wish to go, and then you can run your query. If you wanted to stay on the main search and use the filters, you could do that as well. And you can use that using the filters. Filters are very powerful. You can, for example, look at the author. If you have an author in mind that is very prominent in a particular subject, you can look if this author is listed here, and then you can filter by that author. You can put a year range as well. So see here, we do cover a wide range of data. So it also reflects into the years covered. We do get our information on a daily, so ingestion, it's daily, weekly, and monthly basis, depending on the licenses that we have in the terms, but it's getting updated every day. This section here, types, citation, if you wanted to start a 10 supporting citation or mentioned or contrasted. The journals, that's where a relationship to the publisher come handy. You can filter by those as well. Affiliation, Chinese Academy of Sciences being the one that has published the most on the particular subject. You can start digging into that as well. Publication types. This is where it gets also interesting. And as mentioned before, much more than peer-reviewed articles. It's a broad choice of publication type that we cover. And here you can see all the type that we cover. You can here type, or you can go into the drop-down menu. The topics as well. Quite helpful if you're looking for something very specific, you can just type it. Again, you can also look and pick and choose from here. The editorial notices, very important. Only one to do. You get information about papers which have been retracted or had erratums. And that's particularly helpful if you do a reference check, and I will get that in a minute, and then the mesh as well. From here, as I mentioned before, I can do many things. So I didn't want to use the advanced search, the Boolean search. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the filters, because I really think that filters are really great. And if you know how to use them properly, you can really go on a granular level. I wanted to have less than 800 results using using that particular filter. Now what I can do is that I want to have a quick understanding on this particular search term using those filters. So I'm going to issue a report. Reports are great because, first of all, you can issue it into a PDF format. See the report. And it will always be presented this way. So you have an introduction. You can see the context of your search, so what you have searched for, the filter you have applied, and here you can see the researchers. Those are the researchers who have highly supported work on that subject, because that's the filters I have applied, or the most supported papers in this area on the institution, CNRS being the one here in this instance as well. And then what's being said about this topic? This is the one that is mostly read. So you can see you have snippets, and then you can quickly understand the context also behind that subject using those filters. That's very powerful because you can glance on it, understand, and then you can move on to your day. So it's quite a time saver. And you can also share the PDF amongst users as well and internally as well. So going back to the search, after I did my report, what I want to do is that I want to pin down that search, and I want to have a more dynamic way on following up on that search. So I'm going to create a dashboard. Dashboard are a way to, as I mentioned, follow up on a particular subject. Here you can see that it creates a dashboard. You have those information, you have the citation types, editorial notices. And what's important, it's that you still have the authors here, and you have the article down here. So you can come in here and start filtering here as well, or you can collaborate on dashboards with your colleagues. You can just put an email address here, and then you can start collaborating. Now, if you wanted to see all of your dashboards, you can come under my profile, go into dashboards, and I went a bit quick. I wanted to just highlight this. As I mentioned, do connect your ORCID ID here if you wanted to as well. That's what I was referring to earlier. Jumping into the dashboard. Here are all of my dashboards. So if I wanted to come in here and see what's being said, I can. And if anything changes on that particular subject, I'm gonna get the notification through the platform. If anything happens in terms of citations, in terms of editorial notices, I will get notified in here for any subject that I pin down to my dashboard. And I can also, what I can do on top of it is that I can create a custom dashboard. And this is using Zotero Mendeley because we have plugins. But if you're using Citavi and Endnote, you can as well. So what you can do is that here you can, basically you need a list of DOIs that you can upload to the library. And you can really create that library. So by creating that library through those reference tool managers that you're using, you'll be able to run an assistant query through those particular DOIs. So if you're looking at a particular set of papers on a particular subject, you wanted the assistant to help you pick on certain terms or understand what's being said, the trend, or whatever you wanted the assistant to ask, you could do that, and you can use that particular set of DOIs. Now, before I jump into the assistant, I wanted to go back to the reference check. Reference check is great because you can upload a paper, and this feature will change. We are improving it. So if you upload a paper, what you'll be able to do, Word or PDF, you're able to do to run it through the platform, and it will tell you if the paper has any editorial concerns, if it's problematic. Here you can see that it caught that I have 2 references with the editorial concerns. I can come down in here and I can see those listed here. So I can see that the 2 papers here have had erratums. The first one, I can see that it has been retracted in 2015, and it's been originally published in 2009. But this author here in 2018 probably didn't see that those papers have had erratums on them, and he did reference those papers in his work. So that's also something that we add to Scite, and that's thanks to the editorial notices that we receive, and thanks to the data that we also receive and work to get through those publisher agreements and data holders agreement as well. Now, if you're going now, we can also jump into the assistant here. Assistant is a is one of the features that it's mostly used. Let's face it, because of ChatGPT, because of all the AI tools out there. This on Scite is our big feature. Site Assistant. If you have access to the trial, you'll have access to everything I'll show you today. So you can go ahead and use the assistant. Assistant is our response to ChatGPT and other tools, and you'll see that it's a bit different. And we like to say that our tool really is is a tool that you can use. So I'm going to show you in a second, and it's better to visualize. So basically, you're running a search here. It's going to give you the results here on the main screen in the middle, and then here it's a search strategy. So we like to say it's a very transparent way of using AI. It's more ethical because you have that transparency in terms of the search strategy. So it tells you what it went through, the steps it has taken. Again, we are the first one to do. I know other tools are now catching up. And then here you can see the publications up. Before I jump into the references, the publication it went through as well. And then here the references. Now you can, if you wanted to expand this search on the main screen, you could. You could say expand the response, show as a table, because that's also something we just implemented is a table mode. And then here it's also other suggestions on what you can do. If you wanted to guide it, you can. And we like to use this term human guided because we have an assistant settings, which you can use. And it's great because here you can use the table mode. Table mode, like right if you do literature reviews. This is something that we just released at the end of January by popular demand. So that's also very unique to Scite, is that we're really collaborating with our users to make sure that we capture the feedback and then that we can put it onto roadmap in terms of like implementing the product. And that's what we have released. And it has been one of the feature that is also mostly used in the assistant. Here you can filter by reference year as well, by year range, sorry, publication types, citation style. We don't rely just on one model. The response length, the journal. So if you wanted your query to go through Cell, Nature, and Nature Biotechnology, you can put that in here and you can have that query just run through those journals. The dashboards, this is the dashboard we just created. You can have just a query run through those set of papers that we use on that dashboard, or you can use the custom dashboard / library from your reference tool manager. So those DOIs that you just uploaded, that's also feasible. And then you can also analyze the document. So documents that are analyzed here are the ones that you've just used in the reference check. This is great, and I like to just highlight this a little bit. I am a non-English speaker in terms of my first language, so I use the assistant, for example, to make sure that everything that I say in English is proper, and then also to use it to summarize some articles or papers that I quickly need to understand. So it's great for non-native English speakers, Scite in general, really. And then you can apply the filter here. And then I will rerun the search with those little errors. And here you can see that it's going to be a table mode. Table mode you can customize, sorry. And this is going to show in 2 sec. Here it is. It's Friday. My internet is a bit sad today. So here on the side, you will have, okay. It has its own mind. It's all right. Sorry about that. Usually never happens. So here you can see that it will give us a table mode. Here it is. As I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, but if you use table mode, you should be using the year range because that's gonna really get you a very detailed answer, and it's better for your search as well. And here you can add a column. So as I said, you can really customize the your search in here. And then what we can do from here is that you can rerun the search, adding that column, and then you have something that is like customized to your search and your need and your particular need. Now I'm going to stop there on the assistant. I just wanted to quickly also show you that the data that we cover is quite broad. Here it is. So we not only do life science, physical science, we do social sciences, we do also arts. So there's quite the subject that we cover here, and you have all the details. It's on our website. And if you're interested in knowing a bit more on the technical side, because that's something that I usually don't cover, I don't go deeper into the detail. Our founders have written a article in MIT Press to talk about this. And you see here, we have the plugins as well. So do install the plugin, and I will just go back into Scite to show you where to do this on the product browser extension. If you go in there, you can try it in here. A little caveat here, if your IT, if you have guidelines through IT, I would recommend to get in touch. Sometimes that can stop the plugin and you need to go through your IT. Otherwise, yeah, you can just install it freely on your browser as well. Any questions before I'm gonna pause here, because that's a lot of information. So I just wanted to make sure that we do have a bit of time. And as I mentioned, we won't use the hour. Up, and I do understand that not you may just had your access to Scite. So if you don't have any questions now, don't worry about it. At least you have the tools to use it now. You understand what Scite is and also the use cases. Just use it, use all the features, and make sure you get back in touch with Daniela to give her any feedback, or to your contact within your university, so that we can have your feedback. Okay, so you tried to install the browser extension on Mac for Safari, but it said that it's not available in Hungary. Oh, we do have, that's interesting, because I was just talking to Szeged University, um, who are using us, and they haven't told me that. Okay, and she's a Mac user, so I wonder. Okay, let me just dig a little bit further on that. And I'm sorry, you have that experience. I'm sure I'll get around that question. Thank you for bringing it up. So if there are no other questions, I am okay. I saw in one of your Facebook ad that Purpley site can also identify research gaps. I don't think I know about that ad, but I think the research gap that they're trying to I think what is referred there is that is actually Scite by itself. So it's using the advanced search. So if you go into the advanced search, what you can do is that you do your, as I mentioned before, you do your search, you do your particular search term that you're using, and then from here you can really define whether the papers and then the gaps, if there are any, using the filters. So I think that's what was that they to what they were referring online on Facebook. Is it possible to reach you later if I'm stuck with something during testing? Yes, you have to go. So I think you have someone that is your reference point at the university. So please get in touch with that reference point, and then that reference point will get in touch with my colleague Daniela, who is on site and can make a. But yes, the answer is yes, you can. Uh, And I would advise you to get in touch with a contact person within the university. You should have gotten guidelines on how to get into Scite with your trial account. So I think you have a librarian. So yes, we are here if you have any feedback. Do you have any data on the proportion of the articles you covered that are non-English sources? That is a very good question. Yeah, so that's a very good question. And as I say, we don't discriminate against languages, so we do ingest a lot of languages, but I think more than 80% of everything or 90% of everything that is published is in the English language. So, and to be noted is that we carry all of our data does need to have a DOI. So it's published content with a DOI. So if it has a DOI, it will be on the platform. But most prominently, most of the resources are in English because, that's just the language of the research world. But you should look for if you know the DOI of one particular paper that is written in Hungarian. You should look if we have it. We did do a trial with Wikimedia Poland, and that's one of the focus that we had, and we did find that we did ingest quite a lot of Polish um, resources. So I would invite you to also test it using your papers in Hungarian and any languages as well. Are typical use cases videos tutoring you develop? Yeah. That's why we have a little bit of a demo. We do have tutorials. With I will share those, and this will be passed on to you. And I'm not sure how you have access to everything, but maybe it can be put internally, and then you can have access to all of it. But there is if you go under Research Solutions, or if you go on YouTube, if you do type site tutorial, you'll have little how-tos videos. It's 5 minutes, and it will explain everything to you as well. And I will share the video so you'll have it. But once you crack Scite, it will be easier. So I promise it will get easier. Right. I don't think anyone typing. So I will thank everyone. I know it's a Friday, it's March, it's quite busy. So thank you everyone for attending. If you have any questions, please let us know. And I'm wishing you a lovely weekend, and hopefully you also feel the spring coming your way. So thank you, everyone. I will be stopping the recording now. Stop sharing, stop